pretty simple. We've been fighting for a long time on trying to get the information so that it could be less confusing to us. At the end of this road, it's become quite clear. It's not confusing when we're talking about covering up a mistake. One or two acts of incompetence followed by a series of competent actions trying to prevent people from finding out what went wrong. I know some people have some time constraints, so I'm going to kind of jump to the gun on this. That document right there is dated August 22nd, 1995. This document right here is dated April 21st, 1995. This one is from the federal government via the EPA Region 4. It extols the virtues of this new idea called brownfields initiatives. It talks about how EPA Region 4 is going to be aggressively developing strategies so that they can eliminate numbers of Superfund sites off of their inventory by even giving grants and pilot programs to municipalities to develop those properties. This is a letter to CTS Corporation in 1995, which, by the way, had sold their property in 1987. And this letter right here says, this is to notify you that EPA has removed your facility from EPA's computer inventory as a surplus, meaning that they're no longer going to be an active site. They have a green light to develop with this letter. Bold type that says this does not indicate that the state has made a similar determination. And then at the bottom it says that it's been CC'd to the state agency. We got this by way of the state agency. What's ironic about this is that this was in August 1995. In April of 1995, the state of North Carolina used EPA's data to reject the developer's bid to come off the state Superfund inventory. The number one reason they reference, concentrations of 1 to 2 dichloroethylene in sediment in CASDO2, which is a sample location, exceed levels that are believed to pose health risks. That's on the Rice property, and they tested that in 1990, and they didn't tell the Rices, and they didn't walk 75 feet to their door and say, I want to make sure that you're not on well water. I want to make sure you're not on spring water. They didn't bother to walk 75 feet. Conclusion number 4 from the state of North Carolina's cancer screening says the Rice family and the Robinson family could have had their health impacted by up to 11 years of exposure to TCE in the drinking water and in the air that they were breathing. They're releasing the study based on, or coming up with that number because the Rices and the Robinsons were moved to municipal water in 1999. What they failed to do is say that in 1990 they could have stopped it. That would have shaved off effectively 9 out of 11 years. What are the consequences of not drinking that water for that long? One single act of incompetence followed by years of covering it. This is where it can get uncomfortable, but I do believe that the people that are here on behalf of the government are good, quality people. And there's a reason why they're here. They're representing the local government and our federal government. I'm a little bit disappointed that no one from the EPA, despite their invitation and despite saying that they would be here, is in attendance that I know of. Is anybody here from EPA? Well, I wouldn't want to be here either. But then again, Dave Ogren, who is here, made a phone call in 1987, telling the Buncombe County Health Department that he was concerned about the Rices because the well that they were using, which was driven off of a spring, was contaminated and that they were having health problems. And the reason we know it's 1987 because he said the plant either just had been sold or was about to be sold. It was sold on June 15th, 1987. The state of North Carolina, Pat DeRosa, NCDENR, she filed a memo in 1990 saying that she had gotten a call from the Division of Waste agent Robin Purcell summarizing the conversation that she had had with Dave Ogren. Now, either Robin has some issues with time frames and time limits because the call was made in '87 and Pat DeRosa's filing a memo in 1990. Incidentally, 1 week later, they're at the Rice property testing in that sediment. And she's writing a memo a week before they're on her property without permission. And then when they get the result, they don't inform the family. So if you take the cancer cluster study from the state of North Carolina and you subtract the years to 1987, there is no exposure that would have impacted their lives according to that health study. On that basis alone, you should tear it up. So we're going to stand here tonight and hopefully with a much louder chorus of people demanding that they do their job appropriately. The time for making those kinds of life-threatening decisions is over. And the question of why are you looking for a second source? The question of why aren't you dealing with the plant where you know there's 40 million pounds of contaminated soil underneath the plant? Where you were warned in 2002, if you do nothing, it's going to get into the groundwater. And when that happens, it's pretty much lights out because there's no way to stop it, really. It gets much more complicated. It doesn't make any sense that you would then go on a wild goose chase and defy your own documents. Then again, when we get to this, because I'm going to show you this, it doesn't make any sense for the site to be shrunken from 57 acres to 9 acres a week after the 2002 document said we got to clean it up now, immediately, unless you're trying to hide something. And I'm going to tell you right now that I asked Don Rigger personally in a meeting, is that your handwriting, Don? Are you the one that changed the document? Did you shrink it from 57 acres to 9 acres? Don Rigger. I think I said briefly that he was the project manager in 1999, and he said that he didn't remember how long he'd been on site. I told him I can give you the quotes from the newspaper that put you there on August 25th, 1999. Now I can put him there with his own documents because he was the project manager receiving the reports. So what happens if the EPA Region 4 gives a green light to developers who then turn around and build a $30 million housing development on a toxic waste site, and then when they find out that they've made a big mistake because 4 years later the Rice property turns up contaminated, you know what they did to the Rices? They created a new super fund, and they gave that super fund the Rice family address. They literally say that there's 17,000 pounds of contaminated soil at that site. Now, I just think that there's something really vulgar about victimizing a victim. And so, I didn't want you guys to spend all night waiting, wondering, I wonder what it is. It's real simple. It goes back to it's as old as the dirt in the hills that we live in. The state said, no, you're not coming off of our inventory. Federal government 4 months later their own data and let them have permission. Again, we're going to have a question and answer session detailing that. I hope that in jumping ahead, when you see a question about basic motives, it's pretty simple. They don't want to acknowledge that $30 million is their mistake would have bought in Southside Village if they had known the contaminants that are in Southside Village.